This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Finance Minister's announcement of major relief measures to boost COVID-affected sectors. The participants are A.K. Bhattacharya, Economic Analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent.
Today, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced major economic relief measures of more than 6,28,000 crore rupees to provide support for all those sectors affected by the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Bhattacharya, can you tell us about the broad significance of this booster dose to the economy, which has come after the 29 lakh crore Atmanirbhar Bharat stimulus announced over last 1 year?
This package that was announced earlier in the day is largely focused on addressing the concerns in the healthcare sector. In a sense that the loan guarantee program has been expanded. Earlier it was about 3 lakh crore rupees and now it has gone up to rupees 4.5 lakh crore. Now essentially this will mean that large segments of the economy which have been adversely affected by the second wave of COVID-19 will be able to take advantage of the credit guarantee scheme. Remember that the earlier scheme, the last time she announced the package, the utilization of the package was not complete in the sense that even within that 3 lakh crore scheme, not the entire money was used up. So now, seeing the gradual increase in the usage of the scheme, she has expanded the sectors. In a sense, the healthcare sector has been included. The tourism sector has been included, the microfinance sector has been included, and the overall coverage, the guarantee cover, has also been increased to 4.5 lakh crore. In my view, that it is a move that will help address the concerns in those sectors which have been badly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic second wave. One point that needs to be taken note of, this scheme will not have any direct bearing on the government's fiscal deficit, so to say, in the sense that this is a guarantee scheme. Its impact will be very, very limited in terms of government's expenditure outlays.
Healthcare is the most important sector right now because of the pandemic situation that we are going through. In fact, in the budget also, the maximum stress was on healthcare. Today, very interestingly, the FM talked about scaling up medical infrastructure by targeting in the underserved areas. In fact, she talked about guarantee cover for expansion and new projects in cities other than 8 metros and special 75% guarantee coverage for expansion as well as new projects has been announced for aspirational districts. So how far is it important to expand the outreach of healthcare in the remotest part of the country?
You have to see the COVID-19 map in India in a sense that how the second wave of COVID-19 has impacted different parts of the country. The big difference between the first wave and the second wave has been that in the second wave, the rural India has been more affected in the sense that there are many rural districts who have been very badly affected. Now, there is a Niti Aayog scheme of aspirational districts program. If you look at those aspirational districts program, you will see that many of those aspirational districts, which are not very high up on the social indices or the development indices, now they have also been badly impacted by the second wave of COVID-19. Therefore, the focus of this package that was announced earlier in the day is also trying to address the concerns of those pockets of rural India which have been badly affected by COVID-19. It is not just these rural healthcare provision facilities in rural India, but also there is a 50,000 crore package in itself has been announced for the health sector. There is an additional healthcare expenditure has been provided for under this package, which very importantly is focusing on children. Now, you will realize that the entire vaccination program so far is concentrated on people above the age of 18. Now, it's possible that when the third wave does come, children may be affected. There is debate over it. There is no clear evidence whether the children will be affected or not. But certainly, children may not be vaccinated. So, it is very indicative of the government's thinking that you need to provide additional healthcare spending which are aimed at addressing the need for children. So that, to my mind, is very, very significant.
Also, there is a new credit guarantee scheme to facilitate loans through microfinancing institutions, as you mentioned earlier, at 2% interest. The maximum amount will be rupees 1.25 lakhs per person. Focus will be on new lending. So can you tell us the significance of this scheme?
The microfinance sector actually reaches those segments of society where the organized banking sector, organized financial sector, or the non-banking finance companies do not have easy access. In the sense that in terms of financial inclusion goals and financial access goals, the microfinance institutions play a very important role. So bringing microfinance institutions under this scheme, what the government is trying to do is that those segments of society which do not have access to finances or financial or credit allocations through the traditional channels of the financial sector, their needs are also being taken care of. And the associated point that I would like to make here is that the government and the Reserve Bank of India, it seems, are working in tandem in all these packages. You will remember that a few weeks ago, the Reserve Bank of India came out with a new regulatory structure for microfinance institutions, which will make available more loans with more competitive environment so that microfinance institutions can access loans at a cheaper rate. Now, taken together, you will see that the microfinance institutions probably can address the challenges in a post-COVID world far more competently than they could have done without this package.
In the pandemic era, the services sector was also one of the most, you can say, severely stressed sectors, especially contact-based services were hit by COVID. And one of the worst hit sectors was the tourism sector. So today we have seen a lot of stress on tourism sector. Loan guarantee support has been provided to this sector, loans of up to 10 lakhs per travel and tourism agency at 100% guarantee, loans of up to 1 lakh per tourist guide. First 5 lakh visas to India will be given free to tourists coming into India. How do you see these measures addressing the problems being faced by the tourism sector, and how soon you see this sector reviving?
There have been two areas where there has been some criticism been made with regard to the government's response to the COVID-19. One is that we still now, we haven't seen any special packages for the hospitality sector, which was very badly hit. Now, this is the first time that a package of help and assistance has been announced for the tourism sector, which has been very badly hit by the COVID-19, because the risk aversion, which was an important factor that contributed to slowdown in economic activity in the services sector, particularly in the hospitality sector, was quite obvious. Now, this package, it is to be hoped that tourism sector acquires some financial strength to revive itself and exploit new opportunities that will arise after this package. Of course, key feature of this entire package that was announced today is that the government is not letting the fisc to be adversely affected, but rather the government is addressing the concerns of COVID through supply side measures. Instead of coming out with tax cuts or tax sops, as some sections of the industry have been demanding, the government has been very prudent in not falling a prey to such demand. Instead, the government has so far argued that instead of giving tax concessions or tax sops, it will be better to provide these credit support system, liquidity support system. And in this exercise, once again, the government has been aided and supported by the Reserve Bank of India, which on its own has tried to manage the government's programs through these liquidity support schemes or the government securities acquisition programs. So I do see what was announced this afternoon as part of an overall government strategy in league with the Reserve Bank of India.
Mr. Bhattacharya, as you very rightly pointed out, that this package which has come today does seem like an extension of the Atmanirbhar package, which has already been in implementation, under implementation. In fact, the emergency credit line guarantee scheme, as you pointed out, 3 lakh crore had already been announced, and now it has been enhanced to 4.5 lakh crore. Another scheme which they had brought in earlier was Atmanirbhar Bharat Rozgar Yojana, to encourage employers to employ more and more people and create more jobs. Now that has been extended till March 31, 2022. Can you tell us something about this scheme where 23.42 lakh beneficiaries of 79,577 establishments have benefited from the scheme?
I think this is trying to address the concerns of the unorganized small enterprises sector. There is no doubt that the COVID-19 has hit this segment of the economy the worst way. So this scheme will probably go out and help these small enterprises and small entrepreneurs who have otherwise no recourse to any financial support schemes. An area which you should not ignore in this entire package is that export sector has got an important mention as part of the government's package of assistance. About 88,000 crore rupees of insurance cover has been provided for goods exports. Please note that merchandise goods exports in the last 3 months have done very well because the developed markets have opened up. Indian exports are getting better unit value realization, and Indian merchandise goods exporters are expected to go out and explore new markets to tap the new opportunities that are arising in a post-COVID world. So they are likely to experiment with new goods and new markets. In such a situation, a scheme that will provide more financial accommodation by way of insurance coverage for goods exports is a well thought through process. And I think this will probably nurture the early signs of revival that one is seeing in the export sector.
Mr. Bhattacharya, as you very rightly said, that export sector has been quite buoyant of late, maybe because of the global revival. Another scheme which the government has brought about, a very targeted scheme to promote manufacturing in specific sectors, is the PLI scheme, the Production Linked Incentive Scheme. Now, for the large-scale electronics manufacturing, they have increased the tenure till 2025-26. What do you feel about the PLI scheme? How successful it can be in the revival of the Indian economy?
You know, in sectors where there are backward integration scope, in sectors where the components and the raw materials can be manufactured by providing backward integration and forward integration facilities, sectors, for example, like the mobile phones, sectors like the green energy sectors, the batteries, where there are backward and the forward integration possibilities, I think the PLI scheme can go a long way in addressing the concerns and creating new opportunities and build domestic capacity. But a scheme like the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, if it is extended and expanded beyond these sectors, and any sector that wants this facility is granted it, the fear is that the resources will be spread thin and the benefits that a PLI scheme can get from few sectors where there are advantages of backward and the forward linkages will probably be lost. So I think a PLI scheme, this idea is an important step, but I think it should be implemented with caution and implemented with focus on areas where we have the natural advantages of economies of scale and a huge domestic market with which can be met.
The FM also made mention of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which has been extended till November. She also made mention of the additional fertilizer subsidies which have been provided for farmers so that their costs are kept in check and their profitability increases. So you feel that addressing each and every section of the Indian population is important and has been taken care of in today's announcements?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, that different segments of the economy have been addressed, and particularly the sectors that have been badly hit by the second wave of COVID-19 have been identified, and some new sectors have been added, like the microfinance sector, the export sector, the tourism sector. There are a few sectors which may probably will require further support. But as I said, that the government finances, after all, are limited. If the scheme, which has been extended till November, will also mean more burden on the exchequer. So these have to be looked at in a prudent manner without unduly burdening the system in a way that the government cannot discharge its responsibilities to the best of the country and the citizens' interest.
The government, it's always a fine balancing act. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya, for this comprehensive, insightful discussion on the much-awaited stimulus measures announced today.
Thank you very much.
You are listening to a discussion on Finance Minister's announcement of major relief measures to boost COVID-affected sectors. The participants were A.K. Bhattacharya, Economic Analyst, and Sonu Sood, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.
.nic.in